Welcome to Decision Space, the only show to take place right here in the space between the turns in your favorite games. I'm Brendan Hansen.
I'm Jake Friedman.
I'm Paul Solomon.
I'm Pete Wissinger.
And this is the podcast about decisions in games.
And today we continue counting down our favorite games of all time. Last week we did 10 to 6, and this week we go 5 all the way to number 1. Thanks always to our patrons. If you are a patron, you can go over to patreon.com and check out our pre-show where we did some of the best of the rest, talked about games that fell from our previous top 10s and some new games to the list. Some really good stuff there. Take a look. But before we get going here, guys, last week we made a sort of, conditional, hypothetical, maybe we're about to get nominated for a Golden Geek Award for the 4th time. Kind of thank you and please vote. And it turns out we were, in fact, nominated for a 4th time for the Golden Geek Award for Best Podcast. So first of all, thank you to the voters. Thank you. It's an honor just to be nominated. And well, by the time this airs, of course, it will be revealed whether or not we have won or lost a 4th time in a row.
But we don't know.
We don't know is the point. At the time of recording, we don't know. And so what we'll do here, just like last time, we'll record a conditional acceptance speech. Let's start there. Jake, why don't you start us off?
I am so incredibly honored that this podcast project has won the Golden Geek Award for Best Podcast. Thank you so much to everyone who listens. It means the world to us.
Yep. Brendan, anything from you? Number 2 host? No, you're up on stage. They're about to play us off.
I'm just stunned that criticism is working out in this thoughtful way. It's amazing. It's amazing. I just so fortunate.
As one of the new guys on the block, I just want to thank everybody so much. It's really exceptional. And of course, since we won, we'll never be nominated again. So thank you so much. Anything from you?
I just have to say it was pretty crazy that the judging committee called me out specifically for my contributions to the podcast. And I'm just very humbled to have heard that.
So with that done, I think that it's important that we also conditionally have one where maybe if we don't win, and then maybe Pete can decide which one to splice in.
I'll make sure in the edit I put the right one in the episode for sure.
Okay, cool. Let me kick this one off. And thank you to all the voters. But again, this time, for the 4th time in a row, Decision Space has not won the Best Podcast of the Year. It's okay. We're happy to be here. We don't do it for the awards. We do it for you, our Decision-Aunts. Thank you. And we hope to be nominated again next year.
Yeah. And I mean, Board Game Hot Takes is a really good show. So credit to them.
Big time. Big time.
As a striving player, this is where I want to be.
What a joyous struggle.
Perfect. Okay, good. That's good. So whatever happens, we've got ourselves covered. And I think that's it for our pre-show. You guys ready to get into the very best favorite games of all time?
Let's do it.
All righty.
All right. So I think it's up to me to kick us off with my number 5 game. And this time I want to be clear. This is the objective best games. And my number 5 is a game that has absolutely taken over my asynchronous plays on Board Game Arena this year. Got the chance to play it once in person and found that to be quite enjoyable. So not the type of game that's kind of shines in that asynchronous online format. And that is an older game. Brendan, do you guys know where I'm going with this?
Is it Medina?
It's Medina.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so if you're not familiar with this game, it is a game that I think is enjoying like a bit of a groundswell. It came on my radar because somebody was mentioning how they had played it. It looked really cool, so I checked it out on Board Game Arena. But I know also over on the Dads on a Map podcast, they do an annual March Madness where they get 128 games voted on by their listeners and then do a complete bracket with everybody voting on every single matchup. And Medina emerged as the number 1 game, winning that entire bracket over there from like the 33rd seed. So it's not just me that's really enjoying this game. It's kind of the ultimate. It's like very, very abstract. Every turn, you're just taking one or two actions. The actions are essentially just putting blocks of different colors down on a grid board. But it's like the ultimate Zugzwang game. I'm probably saying that wrong, but basically the type of game where all you want to do on your turn is pass, but you can't pass. You're always forced to do something. There's these iterative games of chicken going on all the time. But I think the thing that I find that's so compelling about this and just so cool about it is the first time you play it, it feels like Go or something totally unapproachable. I have no idea what's going on with this game at all. But by the end of that game, you're already seeing the implications of what's happened. And it's a game that's just continued to teach me new things every time I play it. And kind of like the speed that I'm starting to learn things and seeing the implications of all these different things is really amazing, really fun, and it's a game that I'm absolutely loving right now and can't wait to play more, especially on the table. So that's Medina, my number 5 game.
Super duper cool. I haven't played it, but it does seem like the kind of game that I would like. And I know that Brendan likes it. And just to tip the hand a little bit, Brendan may be working on some ideas for what a spiritual successor to that game might look like. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah, Paul, you would absolutely love this. And I've been enjoying playing this on BGA. I played it in person with Jake. I could see this entering my top 10. Like, it's like that good. It almost is an abstract game that it feels like you're playing like 4 games of chicken at the same time, basically. And I don't know if you guys have noticed who've been playing against me online, but I've basically just decided to play really weird. Like I'm just playing to see like, well, what happens if I do this, right? Like trying to, just like call
Stress
stuff
test the
early
system.
or use my priests first to just run them all the way around my stuff, or doing all kinds of weird things because the decision space is so open. And so anything I do, you guys have to respond to and play off of. So it's almost like I'm playing an improv game with you, but I'm intentionally trying to wreck it, is what it feels like sometimes.
That's funny.
To me, it absolutely feels like 4 games of chicken at once, but it's also 4 games of chicken while everyone's doing the passive aggressive bit from Portlandia where it's 2,
No, after
Subarus
you.
at the stop signs.
No,
after you. Yeah, exactly. Until you all crash at the same time. It also, Stefan Dora this is Stefan Dora 2001 game, which I think for important context there, this is a peer of all of Knizia's tile laying games like Through the Desert, Tigris and Euphrates, Samurai, and this is a tile laying game. It might, have been produced with really amazing chunky wooden pieces, but at the end of the day, you are tiling a plane with different types of tiles, which is the description for Babylonia or Samurai or Tigris and Euphrates or Through the Desert. And I think that to me, it's also one of these games. Gosh, we can't do a Medina episode. We're in the middle of a top 5, y'all.
I know.
Somebody
I can't
figure
believe
this out.
how long we're
You're
going.
right. You're right.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it at some point.
Another time. Okay, fine. Well, my game's completely different from that. My number 5 favorite game right now, I haven't even played it in a while, but it's that much of a favorite. I'd play it right now 3 times in a row. It was 16 last year. It's from the great Taiki Shinzawa. This is a little closed economy bidding game. It's Big Top. It's an auction set collection game, circus themed, and it's got some really big twists. One is that each card is a sort of recipe fulfillment set collection card that will earn you points if you complete it. But in order to complete the components of the card, you must bid certain values. That is to say, the things you are set collecting are bids. And so I might have a card that says 12. And so in order to cover up the 12 on that card, I need to bid 12 on some other card, which is very, very strange. It also has this modern art style auctioneer thing where I put up one of my cards for auction and we go around the table and increase bids and so on. But you will eventually pay the auctioneer, which is an important part of the economy. If the auctioneer buys the thing, then that money leaves the economy and everything shrinks. And there's sort of this, I don't know, it's not inflation. I don't think you can get any more money in the game, but the values, the sort of resolution of the economy changes as you play in a really, really interesting way. It's also pretty mean because in order to win, you have to have one of the cards with a star on it. And so if I know that Jake has really been biding his time and maybe has a lot of amazing things, I might box him out of ever getting a star card. That's pretty mean. The second thing is that he might really want to bid 3 in order to finish one of his cards, and I just will never let him do it because I'll always jump to 4. It's really interactive in that way. You're looking at what people have, and it's so fun. It's Big Top from Taiki Shinzawa, and I pray that he does another auction game at some point, and I just keep telling him that.
Yeah, it's crazy that this guy is known for his trick-taking designs, but he made such a banger auction game.
Oh, it's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it really tells you that how his brain works in such a way that he will take like a common mechanism, and his whole thing is like, how do I flip this on its head? Right? Like, how do I, do something totally weird with this? Which, like, I'm endlessly entertained by his trick-taking games, but he could do other stuff, and I think it would be so cool to see other genres that he could go
just like
nuts
tackle a rummy thing, and just like
Sure.
he could do anything. I hope he does.
Yeah, it's cool. All right. So for anyone who remembers from last week, my list is only games that I have played in the last year. And you're going to see a lot of surprises here because I have several new to the list games, and they're all basically new to me games from the last year. And number 5 here, as maybe listeners have caught on because I keep kind of like mentioning this in episodes, this has sort of been my year of Splotter. I've just really gone through it with this Dutch design company. And my number 5 game is my favorite Splotter, and that is Indonesia. I have played this game now 4 times on the
And that's
table.
how many total hours?
It's 4 times on the table, and I think I've completed 9 or 10 games online. And now the games on the table are each about 3 hours long, maybe 3.5. The games online are async, so variable amounts of time. But this game really blew me away. For some reason, Splotter intimidated me before I really got into them. I sort of had played Food Chain Magnate a couple times and thought it was really exciting, but also kind of like hard to wrap my brain around because it was always like months between plays of Food Chain Magnate. So I was sort of like relearning it. It's got this sort of overwhelming volume of cards and things for you to sort of internalize. And when I decided to try and play Indonesia after playing Bus and loving it, it was just so immediate. And it is this economic game where you're starting a company that's either a shipping company or a company that produces goods. And then we operate our companies. And if I have goods, I need to put them on somebody's boat. Maybe I have a shipping company, maybe somebody else does. It's honestly a pretty intuitive game, I would say, from like a how things work sort of system. But what you're making in this game is a couple of incredibly chunky decisions, to use a term that we've used on the show before. The main one, and sort of my favorite decision in the game, is once per round, you make a decision on which track on the research and development tracks to go up. And you pick basically one power of yours to upgrade. And every round you just get to do that. And it's an incredibly consequential choice because maybe you're going to make it so you can have more companies. Maybe you're making it so that your companies expand more. Or probably the biggest sort of twist of the game is maybe I'm going to upgrade my merger capacity, which gives me the ability to merge multiple companies together. And this is what I love about this game is it's this like thinky economic game that just has this like goofy, silly merge mechanism that is incredibly swingy and can totally throw the board state for an entire loop. Especially if you have like someone who wants to be like a chaos agent and is just like merging all kinds of junk together, and all of a sudden, these companies I'd been building, they're not mine anymore, but I've got a bunch of cash. What do I do with this cash? It's just so cool and so like funny and weird. And I'm still discovering new things as I play it. Like I'm in a game right now where we kind of like screwed up our companies so much so to where like there's almost no boats. And we're like, whoa, this is weird. How'd this happen? And it's just like still surprising me for a game with like almost no setup difference. how different every game can feel just because people pulling different levers in weird ways. I can go on for a long time. Inevitably, I will end up doing a full episode on this game. So far, of the 4 Splotters I've played, it is my favorite, and that is Indonesia, my number 5 game.
So I had the chance to play this one with you, and I just want to like slam home to people how vibesy it is. Like, you just have to kind of let it wash over you. Like, there are a few board games I've played where I just felt like I can't parse the decision space at all, and you just kind of have to say like, okay, we'll merge these 2 companies. Okay, I'll bid this much. Now I'm out. And we just wrapped up the game with hidden money, and when we played at the table, it was clear money. And at the end of that game, I was like, I could have been down by 500 points, or as it turned out, I won the game, and I was just like, what the hell is Indonesia? So yeah, that's my review.
Well, that's awesome. I thought you were going to say all aboard and take us on a completely different trip, maybe on a bus route, but we took a trip around the world. I'm excited to hear more about Indonesia in the future.
Well,
but
a bus deep dive is definitely coming as well. So, but yeah.
Well, and in the past, there was if we're just talking about different modes of transportation, a broomstick deep dive, because my number 5 game of all time this year right now is Broom Service. We covered Broom Service in episode 57. And Broom Service is this card-driven simultaneous choice board game where you're trying to brew these potions and deliver them to different towers on the board. You're playing as witches. And really, there's only 4 different types of cards. There's move, brew a potion, deliver that potion, or use the Weather Fairy to get clouds out of your way. And then there's different variants of all of these different effects that take into account terrain that's on the board. And you have 2 witch pawns on the board. And you could be interacting with other players because there's only certain spots where you can deliver potions. So if you get there at the same time as someone else, that can really play a role. But then also, everyone who plays the cards, every card and the effect on these cards and the effects that I just talked about, there's like a strong effect and a weak effect. And you're speculating about what other people are playing, and you're either being brave or you're being cowardly. And it's just this really interesting game with, I would say it's a pretty cool arc. It's interactive. It's 45 minutes, but feels like a full game. Maybe it's sometimes a little longer than 45 minutes. It plays great at 2, but it's also hilarious and funny at higher player counts. We're just all tripping all over each other, being dumb witches, trying to do things and you can't. And it's great. It reminds me of Kiki's Delivery Service. So that's why it's my number 5 favorite game of all time.
Wow. I think it's been a long time since I've played the game, but I did not have the experience that you guys have. Is this an exciting game to you when you play it? Is it like
I would
does
say
it
it's
thrill
a
you?
funny. It's a funny game is the reason I like it. I like it because it's funny. Because like if you're playing with, let's say, 4 people and you have to lead and you like stare at everyone and you're like brave or cowardly, brave or cowardly, brave or cowardly. Whichever one you choose, it's going to be a huge moment for the table. Right? Because sorry, if you choose brave, I mean, it's a huge moment for actually no matter what. Like every reveal for me is like this like little punch of fun because it for a game that is ultimately a pick up and deliver game, it is so much of a get in each other's heads game as well. And I think that's the fun part. It's not like a Euro game where you're like engine building or anything like that. It's really just like the ultimate like read the table board game in a way that I feel like is mostly what you find in card games.
Yeah, it definitely has like almost like poker style decision space where you're like, what are your face down cards? And that's not something you tend to find in that theme. It's a lovely game, and I feel tension not just in like the brave or cowardly, but in the like sequencing, where it's like if somebody moves the hill witch before I get to or I need somebody to move the hill witch before the delivery happens, and if somebody messes that up, you're just like no,
right?
Yeah, so it's great, very interactive. It's my number 16 this year. I think it was my top 10 last year, and that's only because I haven't had a chance to play it. But it's literally, it'll be in my bag for Geekway. It's among the games I'm most excited to get back to the table. And in fact, making this list was like, oh, I want that to be in my top 10 so bad, but I haven't played it this year. So that even makes me want to get it to the table again to see if it still holds up. So that was our number 5, which brings us around to number 4. And I have a kind of the sister game of Broom Service, Isle of Skye, up 11 spots to number 4. So yeah, another game of, I think, the following year after Broom Service wins the Spiel, this game wins the Spiel, maybe the Kenner Spiel. Same designers. So Isle of Skye, Paul and I did an episode on it this year, is a very fun auction game, which has this kind of like simultaneous price setting and reveal auction, where everybody's setting prices for tiles, and then you're doing kind of like a personal little King Domino board out of the tiles that you're bidding for to score points. There's a million reasons this game is designed in a very clever way, but at the end of the day, I think this one has sort of become my favorite, like, feel good Euro game. If I want to have like a very accessible game that's going to hit with, newer players, maybe people who are, want to be like a little less intense and feel bad in their auction mechanism, but then I could still play it with, my typical game group. It's become one of our most commonly played 5-player, especially kind of filler plus games. A game I continue to enjoy, and that is Isle of Skye, my number 4.
As you know, I'm a huge Isle of Skye fan. Previously, my number 1, though I don't think it was when I was on this show. It's a phenomenal design, and I really enjoyed recording that episode. I've learned so many things about game design from what that thing does, and boy, it's superb. I will tell you, I don't remember where Isle of Skye was, but it is not in my top 10 this year, though it was very high last year. In any event, this brings me to my number 4 favorite game of all time. Last year's number 3, it stays in the top 5. It's a game I've played 39 times. I discovered this last week when I played my 39th game scenario of Unlock, the escape room series with decks of cards with lots of art and interesting ways to interact with them. 39 of them. I'm playing my 40th probably tomorrow. I just bought 7 new scenarios to play. I pretty much play them all. They're $10 per scenario. You can sell them for $5, and every single time I enjoy myself. They continue to surprise me with the types of things that they do. It's not a real decision space type game, but it's a gaming experience that I always love. You're sitting around a table with your buddies looking at a bunch of cards, trying to solve a puzzle. And sometimes they're really hard and you go for hints. We got completely stumped last week in a way that we're almost never stumped. And sometimes the easier ones, the single lock ones, are harder. I'm realizing they have a Solomon scale for their difficulties. They have 1, 2s, and 3s, no in betweens. But the ones can be harder than the 3s. And they're all really, really fun. They have cool settings that are really neat. I've only played one of the exit games, but I found it just so uninspired compared to what they do, what Space Cowboys does with the Unlock series, and that's it. My number 4 favorite game ever, Unlock.
Well, Paul, I'll say first that I would accuse you of cheating for putting a series of games in one slot, but I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm not going to.
I'll do it. You cheater.
You want me to pick one? I'll pick one for you guys. That's the one.
No. But do you enjoy escape rooms, Paul?
Yeah, I actually.
Okay.
I did. I haven't done a ton of them, but I went out with Tommy and some other people and did one of the ones down at the Foundry, and it was great, and the production quality was really high, and they're fun. Like, it's much the same, and they're just much more expensive. And then the thing that's even better than that, of course, is doing the live game show down there, which I will hope to do for my birthday.
Nice. Yeah, I will say that I've enjoyed several of these, and I think that something I'm continually impressed by when you've played these with me is the clever use of components.
Yeah.
That like the people who make these games are just sort of like maximizing what they can get
100%.
out of the physical product, right? Like they're like using the box in a way
Yeah.
that like the puzzle, it's almost like it's a game where like when you get stumped on a puzzle, your instinct is just to literally like look at every physical component
Yeah,
that came in the box,
totally.
right? Because
Totally.
like they just like are really good at like hiding things in plain sight and making you do something in a weird way.
Yeah.
Like there was this one that I played with you where we had to like, there was something that had a hole in it and we had to turn
Yeah.
the camera light on our
Oh,
phone
right.
and shine the hole through it to like make
Totally.
a light to like,
Yeah.
like a little spotlight to look at something else. It was like crazy.
Yeah.
Like I
And the
was
one
like,
this
this
week
is
had like spatial stuff where you had to like walk around the room or like point your phone in different directions to hear different parts of the space that you were in. And one that I'll always remember too, I guess. One is that you built like a house of cards out of the cards, and then from different angles, you observing this thing, you could see different numbers and stuff. And the one of the first ones, the final puzzle is like embedded within the UPC barcode on the back of the box. This is really clever stuff.
They figured out the barcode first. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I
had to.
think y'all should do design lessons learned from Unlock for all of us who have not, will not, and cannot play L70. But Paul, should I play the Star Wars one?
Star Wars one's very good. Yeah, I think it's really cool.
Okay, cool.
It's good puzzles, and it's definitely Star Wars stuff.
cool. All right. So my number 4 is also like a little bit of a series. But I'll pick a favorite, especially because it's only a 2-game series so far. But you know, a game that fell from my list from being unplayed was The Crew, which you know, I've said in the past that The Crew is my favorite cooperative game ever. I didn't play it this year. And you're like, Pete, how could you not play the number 1 co-op game? And well, it turns out that they came out with the Lord of the Rings trick-taking games, and I've played the hell out of those in the last year. And you know what? They are so stinking good. And actually, this probably would not have been on my list before the Two Towers came out, because I thought that the Fellowship of the Ring, this is designed by Brian Bornmueller, and it's from Office Dog Games. And my friend Taylor did the development, so like, you know, grain of salt or whatever. But the Two Towers game is so good. So this, if you've played The Crew, you get the kind of idea. It's a cooperative trick-taking game where everyone's going to have goals that they're trying to achieve, and everyone needs to achieve their goal. But in these, it is like a very curated campaign that follows the story of the books of the Lord of the Rings. And the objectives are like characters that you're playing. So it's like, oh, well, in this chapter, right, these were the characters that were there. And it's really clever the way that they evoke theme through incredibly rock solid trick-taking puzzles. Like, you know, they don't sacrifice the trick-taking or the theme in these games. Like, there's very obscure references to the books. Like, if you've only seen the movies, you're gonna be like, who's this fatty Bulger guy or whatever, you know? It's like, oh, I didn't know those orcs had names. It's like, well, yeah, of course they have names. So, but I just want to shout out some of the coolest things in the new Two Towers game, because when
Are
I
there
think about
potatoes?
like, there's not. I haven't actually. I'm only in the first half of Two Towers, and they go in the order of the books, which means that Frodo and Gollum are the second half of the game, right?
So there's
I'm-
still
I'm-
hope for potatoes.
Potatoes could potentially happen, but like they build really cool new mechanisms into the Two Towers game. One of my favorites is that there's 4 cards in the deck that are orcs, and they don't have a suit, so you can only play them if you're off suit. And the mechanism for the orcs is if you ever lead with an orc, you lose the game. And so it's like these cards that are dead weight in your hand that you need to offload by following. And so you have to really time to get them out of your hand at the right time. But then, like, if you play the second one, it's when they meet up with Éomer, and Éomer kills orcs. So like Éomer has to take 3 orcs in tricks. So now we're like, okay, we got to make sure we get rid of our orcs when Éomer is going to win the trick. And so that kind of decision making. And the cool thing is that like every one of these chapters could be an entire trick taking game. Like they're creating mechanisms that are so clever and unique, and then it's like, oh, next chapter, we're done with that. Like, I'll just go on and spoil in the chapter where you meet Treebeard. Treebeard's mechanism is because he talks really slow, that when he plays into a trick, that card goes into the next trick. So he's playing one trick behind.
Yeah, that could
he's
be
slower
a
than
fun
everybody
thing.
else. So he's playing on a one trick delay. And they'll do things like adding a new suit to the deck just for one chapter for thematic reasons and create a new puzzle. It's just like so much ideas crammed into this box. And I keep replaying it, like, because my problem is that I keep showing it to people. So I've played the first like 4 or 5 chapters of Two Towers like 3 times instead of getting deeper. It's just great. I can't say enough good things about the Fellowship of the Ring, the trick-taking game, and Two Towers, the trick-taking game. My number 4 combined.
I would love to try this. I'm a big fan of The Crew. I haven't played this, but I just want to chime in and say it's so cool. Like, board games are so cool that you can take something that is like as simple and abstract as trick taking, and just in that one, anecdote you share, like, instill so much like honest, theme into the mechanisms in a way that makes sense if you're familiar with both the source material and the trick taking mechanism. Like, that's something I think you can only get in board games. So very cool.
And I'm sure that it was a theme forward design process, because they're going chapter by chapter through the book. I'm sure they were like, okay, what happens in this chapter? Okay, how can we turn that into, like
Definitely.
that it had to, yeah. And so it's just really neat.
Sounds awesome. I really thought you were going to say also the Crew Mission Deep Sea and go on some whole rant. So showed
because
me.
the Crew Mission Deep Sea is the one that was in my list.
Yeah. Okay.
I haven't looked back on Planet 9 since
it doesn't even
Deep
exist
Sea,
in our conversation.
Yeah.
Well, the next game that I get to talk about does exist. And it exists at number 4 on my list.
Wow, this is big. Brendan is picking a real game as his number 4.
Imagine if I did it. Okay.
My next great idea, the number 4 game.
Oh no. Goodbye, listeners. No, we're gonna do Reiner Knizia's maybe 9,000th great idea, I guess, which is Babylonia. Babylonia is this wonderful tiling game that packs a punch in under 60 minutes, plays up to 4 players. And it's this game about having a hand of tiles. You're not just playing 2 tiles a turn, or you're playing between 2 and maybe 5 tiles, maybe more on your turn. And the game has this really interesting pacing to it, this sort of tempo as you build a hand of tiles and then you gush them onto the board, but you hope you're gushing them onto the board at the right time. You're also pursuing these 3 different overlaid and juxtaposed scoring objectives where you're trying to surround these ziggurats, connect these cities, and also score these farms. But it's imperative you do all of those things at exactly the right time based on what your opponents are doing. So you can't really solve that puzzle ever. You're just sort of dynamically figuring that out in response to what everyone else is doing. There's special powers. It's amazing. I think Babylonia is a triumph, and it's my favorite Reiner Knizia game of all time, at least this year, right now.
I really need to play this one.
You've never played it? It also, Pete,
I've never played it.
Luxuriates in its points. It is not miserly. Sort of this bass, you get to like roll around and points just gushing onto the table, which some people think is annoying, having to score a bunch of points every round. But I just think it gives you these pops of excitement. Jake's like, I won this game the first time I played it. I don't really want to talk about it now.
All right, so wait, tell me this, Brendan. If other Knizia tile layers I've played,
yeah.
I've played Tigris and think it's genius, but maybe too
careful
punishing
here
because
Pete.
I'm bad at it. And
Sure.
I've played Through the Desert, and I also think it's genius, but maybe a little boring.
Sure. Maybe a little too tight. Yeah.
And so, like, where would this land for me?
It's way more energetic than those games. You're just doing more things. There's more pieces on the board. There's more varied things that you're doing, and to different degrees. I would say it sort of takes those games and if it doesn't turn the knob up maybe on aesthetically on being good, but just turns the knob up on everything. Like you're doing more every turn, you're scoring more points. There are special powers that change the game in fundamental ways. I think you'd really dig it. It's interesting. It's also just not long. You played an hour with 4 people.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, next time you come to St. Louis to game with us, we'll do Babylonia, and it'll be awesome, and I'll really look forward to that. But until then, I won't. And that brings us to our number 3s, and I'm first. So I hope you've enjoyed hearing about trick-taking games and modern-ish Euro games, because we're just going straight into OG board game territory from here on out, starting with 2003's Santiago, the greatest negotiation game of all time, according to me. Santiago is so like all these games that I appreciate so much, very, very simple rule set, but very, very deep strategy. I feel this is a very simple once around the table auction where you will be bidding for tiles representing various fruits that you will get to plant in a field. But the amazing, amazing, amazing twist of this game is that the tiles you're bidding on that you will then plant into the field will shrivel up and die unless they are adjacent to water. And that brings in one of my favorite phases, favorite rules in all of board game, which is whoever leaves the auction first or bids the lowest amount, if nobody backs out of the auction, will be the canal overseer. And the canal overseer gets to decide where the water will go that round. And preceding that is another once around the table action, but this time people get to bribe the canal overseer, saying, I want you to put the water right here, and if you do, I'll give you $2. And then somebody could join in on somebody else's bribe if they're also benefiting from that, or offer something else, or the canal overseer can do something totally different, but then they have to pay back to the bank from their own money equal to the highest cumulative bribe. So it brings in negotiation both in like a hilarious way, but also a very controlled way. It's like, yes, we can negotiate, but we can't just trade anything. We can't really, do a bunch of resources. It's like, it's very controlled. It's very limited. It fits within the constraints of the game. And I find it very, very fun, both doing because even though I don't tend to like games with like tons of open negotiation and king making, which this can definitely result in towards the end of the game, I do like games where there's a lot of table talk. So like I feel like this kind of gives me the fun of talking smack, trying to negotiate, point out who's in the lead without kind of the downsides that I feel when I'm just trying to like manipulate somebody else into attacking somebody else's kingdom. So Santiago for me has been an amazing, amazing game that I've played for the first time maybe last year and played a bunch more this year. Great at 5 players, which is huge for my game group as well. Santiago.
Is this one you're playing on the table or online or both?
Only on the table, this one.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I'm looking at pictures here and I'm noticing that it is very ugly and does have paper money, which has got to be big for you.
Oh my God. I love, this is like the case for paper money. It just feels so much better to, count up a big stack of money and put it down $1 at a time as your bribe. Also has like the hilarious moment where it's like, when you're out of money, you want to like, okay, I'll pass now because then I'll be the canal overseer and people give me all this money. And then nobody gives you any money. And you're just like, come on, people, please bribe me. I'll do anything. So fun.
Jake, that sounds fun as hell.
Yeah, I think I would like it.
That sounds great. I have to say, like, bribing games is like, that's like an underutilized mechanism. Like, I played a game at Gen Con last year with some folks I didn't know. They were friends of a friend. We played this Stefan Dora game called Intrigue, which is this incredibly nasty negotiation bribing game where like you have to bribe to be in contention for something, but then the person picks who they're actually favoring and you lose your bribe if they don't pick you. Like they keep the money. And so it's like
real life.
It's absolutely unhinged. And I was like, why is like bribing not used more in games, right?
It
like
just feels so bad to most
oh my
people,
God.
yeah.
But honestly, I think we should see if we can get an Intrigue game together at Geekway because
Oh,
like
I'm
it
down.
was absolutely bonkers.
Wow.
I should say designed by Claudia Healy and Roman Pellick.
Cool.
Wow. Cool. Well, if you heard what Jake said and you thought it was time for the old Euros to come out, you'd be dead wrong, because my number 3 game of all time, my favorite game right now, is brand new to the list. A brand new release, probably a 2026 release, and that is Cozy Stickerville. This
Wow.
this has been so much fun. And when Pete leaves our game nights on Monday, Tommy and I stay and we play Cozy Stickerville. We'll play, it's a 10 scenario, like 10-year, 10 game campaign, basically. It is Vantage Light for me. And Vantage, I really love. It got a Decide from last year for me, but it's a big thing to pull out and put on the table and set up. And it's, it's not terribly complicated, but it has rules that you have to manage and there's cards you have to dig through. And this thing is just providing a lot of the same experience with way less overhead. Um, there are some minor bad things that can happen to you, but it also provides these paths you can go down. You can try to solve this puzzle and find this riddle and explore this thing and try to chase down this relic, or you can be a matchmaker for 2 of the people you invited into your town and they can have a baby and you can maybe build a playground, or you can, build various things. We've got a bakery going that's doing certain stuff. They give you achievements. There's some engine building, of course, because you have durable pieces that you're putting on the board. You have this big old beautiful board and these lovely stickers that you get to put down to change it permanently. And there's just lots of little interesting things. It provides a pretty charming story, but also a story that's a little bit dark. Like, you're kind of, your dad's sort of a dick and he like thinks you'll amount to nothing. And so he sent you off to figure out this place. And I think your sister shows up and maybe she's kind of like a con artist. I'm not sure. There's this weird spooky guy who maybe he's magical. And then there's Wild Bill, who's kind of an outsider and he might have just stolen some stuff from us and maybe we'll let him hang out anyway. It's just fun. I don't know what to tell you about it except that it's fun. The pieces are nice. It has this gigantic board and you can play it twice. It has the backside, and a lot of times you'll get branching paths. And so you can choose to do the other path, or even if you choose the same path, there's a second card for that. And I encourage folks to play it. If you just want something that's pleasant and engaging for probably 20 games, try Cozy Stickerville.
I have a question. Beyond, is Harvest Moon just one of the greatest games of all time? Because it sounds a lot like Harvest Moon meets Myst.
Stardew Valley.
Oh.
Stardew Valley. Get with the times, Brendan.
Okay, Zoomer.
Popopia.
Paul, how long is this game? An hour? Also, you didn't talk about the
No.
stickers. What about the
Yeah,
stickers?
I said there's stickers. You get stickers, you put them on the board, and it's like,
Are there
what-
mechanisms? Like what?
Yeah, so I can tell you how it actually plays, but to answer your question, it's probably like a 30-minute to 45-minute year. So each year is like a deck of events that you go through in a random order. Maybe there's 12 of them probably for months of the year, and it's 10 years. And there's cards and there's boxes and there's resources and stuff. The mechanisms of the game are pretty simple. In the first round, in the first half of a round, you flip over an event card. It says this thing is happening. And maybe it gives you a choice that you do right then. Or maybe it just drops a card like, maybe it says these 2 people want to come to town. One is an inventor and one wants to open a bakery. And you pick who, and then you get the sticker and you add it to your thing. But then in the second half of a year, you get to take any action that you want. And when I say any action, the actions are typically driven by spaces on your board or spaces on cards. And so in the first thing that happens in the game, you'll put down a sticker for your house and you have different options, and it might have a number there like 16.1. And so one of your actions might be do whatever is related to that, and you'll read in the storybook what it says. And maybe it'll allow you to like renovate your porch or plant some flowers. And then depending on which one of those you do, you'll grab some stickers and upgrade the physical board. And so then you'll have objectives like do 10 flowers, or you can hunt, or you can attract these things. There's lots of different options that show up in various ways. So yes, there are There are mechanisms. There are
This is
resources.
begging a new question of Brendan. What about Cozy Stickerville did you not understand in
That's
the
right.
first place?
That's a fair
This
question.
is also, just so everyone knows, from the designer of
Cozy, it's
Twilight
stickers, it's a
Imperium,
Ville.
Star
That's
Wars
right.
Rebellion, Battlestar Galactica,
Corey
Forbidden
Konietzka.
Star- Corey
Yeah.
Konietzka, yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And, it's like a real Souter
I didn't
story.
realize that.
Yeah.
Genuinely interesting to know that you think this is good, because I've heard of this only in people being like, "This is an incredible kids game." So maybe some of our
I
listeners
just
would
think it's
enjoy
really
it,
nice.
even
I-
if they don't have kids or whatever.
I got
Yeah.
Teresa to play around with me. She thought it was fine, but Tommy and I really enjoy it. And it is fun to just, in the same way that Vantage is fun, Vantage has a more serious world to it with a lot more baked in, but this can give you that much, much quicker in a cool, still enjoyable way.
All right, I kind
Cool.
of want to try it with Bridget.
Cool. My game is not cozy, but here we are at number 3, and so this is my third game of this episode and the third new to the list game.
Whoa.
Also, I have talked about this episode a couple of times already on this podcast in the past year, and this is big release from 2025, designed by Pablo Clark. It is the Old King's Crown. I've probably, since I got this game, played it maybe 8 times, and it's not a short game. We're talking about
No.
like a 2.5 to 3 hour game. And if you ask me what game do you want to play right now, the answer is still probably the Old King's Crown.
Wow.
This is a very heavy, weird game. Like it's almost like a heavy version of like Libertalia or Citadels. It's like a simultaneous card choice game where you have some idea of what other people are going to reveal. But ultimately what we're doing is it's kind of like a lane battler. You're playing a card into one of 3 battlefields. And Brendan's already like kind of hubba.
No, I want
But,
to play. This
yeah.
whole episode is just like games I want to play. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. And so you've got these asymmetric factions. I'm not even going to get into the fact that it's the most beautiful game in my collection.
It is.
My favorite decision in this game is actually, because this has changed for me as I've played it. My favorite decision now is you have these super powerful once per game abilities. And the game is basically telling you, okay, you got to take a big swing once. And so when to pull off that one big move so that it doesn't step on a rake and smack you in the face is this like incredibly tense decision. And I think that sort of understanding what everyone else is, my problem with this game is that I have yet to play it with a table where I'm not teaching it to somebody. And so that's why I need to get this game to a point to where Root is, to where everyone in my game group knows it. And so we jump straight into skilled play. Like I still am not at a skilled play level with this game. And there's so much there that I want to dig into. Like it is so weird and unintuitive in a way that is like so exciting to me. It is exactly my kind of just like nasty game with a bunch of really spiky edges. And I just think Pablo Clark's first game here, this being his first game, it's like, well, I know I'm going to buy every single thing this man designs. It's just such like this unique way of like designing a game that, I just can't say enough good things about it. Lots of people love it. Feels like a game that was kind of made for me. That's my number 3 game, Old King's Crown.
Well, just because it's heavy and complicated, it doesn't mean it's a deep game, Pete. I think we should just say that.
I don't even know if this. I don't know if this is deep. I haven't played it enough to know if it's deep. The cave seems big. The cave seems big. I'll say that.
I had the chance to play this with you at Geekway, not Geekway, at Gamers Rant. And yeah, it seems like the kind of game that is not normally my forte of like very like direct conflict, but I had a great time with it. And yeah, I think it's a really impressive design too.
I think it's the kind of game that Brendan would really like because it is very much about knowing the output range of what is out there, what kind of things could occur, what kind of cards could they be playing. Because, and I enjoyed it. It has some interesting mechanisms going on it is ultimately something like 15 rounds of war wrapped up in 2.5 hours, and the absolute most unbelievable art I think I've ever seen on a game. I truly think it is some of the best art I've ever seen in a game. And if the designer wasn't the artist, I don't know that it could ever have been made, because it would just cost $30
So
billion
much,
to
right,
get
yeah.
the art. Everything's incredible.
Yeah, I have to say they just did a Kickstarter for an expansion with new factions, and he did like an art live stream where he's like, "Hey, watch me draw a card," and I was just like, "What?" Like, it was just like
yeah.
absolutely
cool.
mind blowing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brendan, you would eat this thing up.
Yep.
Well, it's very interesting. It sounds delicious, and I'm going to talk about another game that is interactive, fighty, evokes strong feelings, and I think, at least in part, has achieved its status because of its art, and not its art alone. But that game is Root. Cole Wehrle's
Yes, it is.
Root is an incredible game, and Root. I think the way that I want to talk about Root is a game that prescribes you an agency and an identity. And this is what I love about Root. Every time you play Root, you get to do something different. And every time you play Root, you have a different role at the table. You relate to everyone at the table in a different way. And you feel that because of what you can do to them, but also what they can do to you. And it's the first game I've played that I feel in its asymmetry really casts me as a character and gives me all of the tools that I would need to get onto the stage that is the board and play out a really interesting, evocative story that feels organic and real and breathed with the characters that are there. And there's not... Root's a good example of doing just enough to let your imagination run absolutely wild as a player, so that the table gets to fill in the details of how some of these factions exist or how they interact, or to take a little mechanical snag or a rough edge and make a whole story out of it. And this happens with the Woodland Alliance, and it happens with the Otters, and it happens with the Crows and the Warlords and the Vagabond and the Cats and every single faction that I've ever played in this game. Root is so good. And I think it was also just the perfect game, published in the perfect way at the right time, that I wonder, in some ways, it's been 10 years since Root came out. I wonder if 10 years from now, people will look back at board games and sort of say, yeah, that was the before Root era, and this is the after Root era. In some ways, I don't know. We'll see. But that Root is my number 3 favorite game of all time.
Brendan, we played so many games of Root in the last year to prepare for that mammoth 2-part Root deep dive we did.
219 and 230. Yeah.
Yeah. I had such a good time, like, just putting in the reps of that game with like a dedicated group of people, because I'd never really gotten super deep into playing on the app. And when Jake and I recorded an episode on lifestyle games, I said, like, Root's actually kind of a lifestyle game, because, if we think that, like, thinking back to our episode on depth, if depth is sort of games that are continuously giving you sort of new things to discover and notice, that's like, a lot of games try and sort of beat Root as like being more interesting in their asymmetry. But I think that the asymmetry in Root is like tuned just right. Like, it's, we'll talk about it again later in this episode, so I'm not going to go bonkers with it, but just to say, I've got a game of Root scheduled for this Wednesday night. So
that'd be a crazy twist if it's like, actually, we don't talk about it again.
Oh
that
my
was
gosh.
It on Root.
That would be nuts.
That would be a nuts twist. Like,
Ultimate betrayal.
Stay tuned, listeners. Well, I'm just relieved that it's not Brendan's number 1 game, because I thought that's where we were heading. Maybe next year. So that brings us to my number 2 game. All of our number 2s coming up. And this one is like, this is just like the platonic ideal of a board game for me, I think. And that is El Grande, the absolute classic area majority game. I would say the best area majority game. If you're not familiar, this is like, I don't know. It's like basically just playing some cards, getting some cubes on the board, trying to move your cubes into the right places at the right time, and then have your plans foiled because we reveal the Castillo and then somebody dumped all their pieces onto yours and now you're screwed. That's El Grande. When I
Play
think about
cards, move cubes. You have me so excited.
when I think about myself, 20 years from now, getting some friends together to play a board game, I think this is like I kind of like imagine myself doing this. I don't know. I hope I'll still be like, having a regular game night that's like firing, playing all kinds of new stuff all the time, continue to explore new stuff. But like if somehow something changes, I move to a different place, I don't have the game group, I, get more invested in other things or hobbies. Like I think that this would be the game that I could get old friends, folks around the table and just always, always, always have an excellent time playing a board game. That's El Grande for me.
So I have to say this one only dropped off my list because I did not play it in the last year. I think one of the best compliments I can pay to El Grande is that every time I play another straight area majority game, I'm like, I would rather just play El Grande, right? Like it's just, it almost ruined a whole genre for me. It's so good, right? Also, like, in interviews, I've heard Cole Worley say that the only board game he brought with him to college was a copy of El Grande. And I'm like, dang, I wish I'd been into El Grande when I was in college. Because
seriously,
think about like all the downtime you have with your friends in college to be like, every night play a game of El Grande. That's like, it's like instead of playing Mario Kart, I could have been playing El Grande. Are you kidding
or
me?
Catan. Like this is not knock on Catan, but I think if we had El Grande all those nights, well, maybe we wouldn't have been friends after a while. But yeah, it would have been awesome.
Right. Yeah, it's just it just does it so well. And Jake, you've been getting really excited and into the King and Intrigue expansion, which like is the same game, but with this totally new card system that's just like so cool. And so it's a pretty robust system, I think. And it's just such a great time.
Yeah, the King and Intrigue is so great. I think that's probably my definitely the way I want to explore the game most right now. I think I would always be happy to play the base game, but especially if you have the full 5 players, which is my preferred player count for El Grande. It just takes some of the play patterns that becomes like people know you go low, so you can use your 13 and take the king in the scoring round. That doesn't mean it's not a deep game because there's some like clear good strategies, but now it's like everything is new again when I'm checking out that system. Absolutely have loved it all over again, exploring that.
That's super cool.
El Grande, number 2.
Are there crazy blinged out versions on Board Game Geek or something where people have I know you would never want that, but are there where they've got sick minis and all kinds of stuff?
This is a game where I think what many people want is they man, I wish I had one that had cubes instead of meeples.
Yeah,
right?
It's the newer one, which is great. I know our friend Jared has Frankenstein a version together from different. He's got the old small box with the wooden Castillo, so he's kind of got the platonic ideal version of the platonic ideal board game.
Well, I'm thinking about a friend of ours who had a copy of Scythe that was blinged out beyond belief. And how much were they selling that thing for?
It was
crazy. It was
it was the most incredible, beautiful blinged out Scythe ever. I
think no one would want.
El Grande attracts a different type of
for
gamer,
sure.
right?
For sure. No question. All right. Well, my number 2 favorite game ever was 7 on my list last year, and it's jumped way up. I considered making this my number 1 favorite game of all time. It's Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and I have here a big old box full of stuff, including the expansion. What makes Castles of Mad King Ludwig so great, and this has it's sort of, for me, very similar to something like Isle of Skye. And what has made this jump ahead of Isle of Skye is that I think it is really easy to get new players to play. I think it can be a gateway game for a lot of folks because the turns where they have to set prices are a little hard, but they can just kind of do it and be done. And then they have some pretty straightforward decisions. And there's lots of little combo moments that feel amazing. You get these little synergies of, oh, that one wants to be next to a blue, but this blue one wants to be next to that one. And you put them down and you score 4 things in a row. And it feels so good. It is, of course, so goofy in its theme and its table presence with the odd shaped pieces. it's really fun. And then when you play with folks that are, a little more strategic, there's much more you can do in terms of the pricing and trying to pay attention to what other people will want to buy. And when you're the master builder, sort of put things in places where you think you can get max value. You can also do things like be the only person with downstairs so that you can build things that no one else can build. The expansions in this box are many. I have not even played all of them. There's some that I don't even think I understand what they mean. But it's great without them. The one that I do play always with is the towers, I believe they're called. And they are special kinds of tiles that when you complete them, when you fully surround them, their room bonus is that you get to draw a new King's Favor tile. I think you get 3 of them, which are typically the public objectives that everyone scores. And you score it just for yourself, but still comparing to the other players. And so you might want to have the most square-shaped rooms, but no one else knows that but you. And so it's similar to what happens when you complete one of those utility rooms and you get yourself a new personal scoring objective. It really just does just about everything I love in a game. It has a slight auction mechanism, and you can see that many of the games in my top 5 have auction elements to them, Cozy Stickerville not being one of them. But it also has the tile laying. It also has layered scoring objectives. It also has public objectives and private objectives and the ability to get more of them. And it's just really a delight. It's Castles of Mad King Ludwig, my number 2 favorite game ever.
This one is, we covered this year in an episode. So if anyone wants to listen to more, you can go back and find that one. Paul, I feel like part of the reason why this does work for people who maybe don't often play games is the theme and the tile set is just really good. Like it's silly, it's goofy, but it's fun. It's fun to build a little castle, and it's fun to have a kitchen next to a bedroom, next to a movie theater, next to a
mold
garden
room
or whatever.
Yeah,
a mold room. Why not? And finishing tiles, just closing off all the doors on a room feels amazing because you always get to do something, and you always get to do something different. So the game keeps you guessing. It has this different feel and a different shape every time. And I think that the tile set itself is just sort of brilliant. The fact that it, I don't know, that it all works. Tell me you designed a game on graph paper without telling me you designed a game on graph paper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, totally. It also does something really good, I think, for new players, which is that when you show up in a game like this and there's all these different tile types and these bonuses and everything, it just signposts for you straight away. Here are public objectives. Everybody should go for green buildings or rooms. Everybody should go for square rooms, and everybody should whatever. And so players just go like, all right. And you can just tell them, if you don't know what to do, try to go for these things. And you get a couple of private objectives to start with, and you just go like, keep thinking about those things, put them face up if you want, because it'll help you remember them. And just doing that much synergy of just like, let me do the public objectives while I do my private objectives is kind of enough to be excited. In the same way that, like, I think we talked about on the pre-show, Cascadia Jr. allows you to have 2 overlaid puzzles that, if you can do both at the same time, make you go like, oh, I feel a little clever. I found a little sneaky way to do this thing. And then if you go to the layer that is above that with all of the bonus objectives and all of the various ways you can play for things, it's awesome. I've learned a lot from this design, and I continue to really, really love it.
Paul, when we did our quintessential Pete and Paul games episodes, I said I think this is the quintessential Paul
That's
game.
right. That's like, right. And you were dead on.
Let's do a highly sort of like nasty interactive way to get something that I can then go put in my little puzzle.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
100%. Okay. So my number 2 game was already on Jake's list in the past. Jake tried to declare in the last episode that he was the trick-taking guy because he had 2 trick-taking games in his bottom 5, and here I am with my second trick-taking game in my top 5. So, who's the trick-taking guy now, right? So
it's not too late for me to change my list.
Jake's number 1 is
Spades.
Cat in the Box. Okay. So we're talking here about a game from Yusuke Matsumoto, and that is Nikosu Dice. It is, I think, the best trick-taking game ever designed. It's so good. I've played this a lot in the last year because I had the privilege to go to Essenspiel to promote Origin Story, and the company that makes Nikosu dice. This is like notoriously a very difficult game to find in the United States, and the publisher had just like a tiny little booth, and there's just like a huge stack of Nikosu dice for like €15 or something. And I'm like looking around, like, do people know that this is here? Like how are people just like walking by this table? Do they not know that it's a huge deal that there's a table full of Nikosu dice over there? So I got a second copy. I already owned the game, but I bought another copy and played it that night with some people who were working the Stonemaier booth with me. The next day, all 3 people I played with went and bought a copy. Right? It just like went over so well. And then I've shown it to another group of people in the past year. I played it with my game night in the past year. I think it's just so good. This is a trick-taking game that has a draft of dice, and these are colored dice, and they count like cards in your hand. So a red 5 on a die is like a red 5 card. And of course, the big twist of the game is you play dice and cards. The dice are cards that basically everyone knows you have. They're like public cards. And you play until you only have 1 die left, and that last die remaining is your bid. Now, favorite decisions in this game. I think I've got 2 sort of all-star sort of cool decisions in this game. The one is when you have the choice between playing a die and a card. When like I could play a card or I could play a die, because every time you play a die, sometimes you're forced to play them because it's your only card of that suit. But every time you play a die, you're narrowing down your bid. You're basically, when you play a die, you're saying, I'm not going to win this many tricks. But early in the hand, you're like not sure how many tricks you're going to win. So it's just a very crunchy decision. And then my other favorite decision is the initial die draft. The last round of the dice draft is so interesting, especially if you're near the back of that draft, because the last die that does not get drafted sets the trump suit and the trump number. And once per game, you get to be the person who actually makes the choice as to what the trump suit number will be. And that's such a fun choice because everyone at the table is like, not that one, not that one, not, it's so cool. I just can't say enough good things about this. Like, I love this game so much. I literally made a dice trick taking game. Like, it's because of this one. I can't recommend it enough. You're not going to be able to find a copy of it for a reasonable price, but the number 2 best game of all time in my book is Nikosu Dice.
That's awesome. Jake, you've played Nikosu Dice.
Yeah, it's on my list. Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 6.
7. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Nikosu Dice is so incredible. Yeah, you can hear my thoughts last episode, but definitely my favorite trick-taking game. I'm not going to swap out my top one at the last minute.
Brings us to number 1. Big stuff here. Yeah.
Well, I still have to do my number 2.
I think we should do.
Oh shoot! I was skipping Brendan.
I think we should allow him to do it.
I could just do my top 4. I'll just do my top.
Brendan, you've been hearing us talk about this game for years on this podcast. At this point,
yeah, I would love to play it. It's another reason to come to St. Louis. Do you think its scarcity has that all perpetuated the sentiment around this game? Like what, or is it really just that delightful?
I think it's that good. I do, mostly because like I said, people I showed it to at Essen,
loved it.
Went and bought a copy.
It spread like wildfire. That's what you said, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely, but it's hard to know. Like, there's something to that. Like, when I first got into like Japanese trick taking, there was something exciting about like the search, right? And like the acquisition.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like someone looking for like who's into vinyl. Right.
Yeah,
and like,
for sure.
Just like saying
digging
I'm
for
into
like
Japanese trick taking.
Yeah, right.
Such a statement.
And like, it's something that I've like lost my energy for. The like keeping up with like the hot games coming out of Japan and trying to import them.
Yeah.
Like I've sort of like lost the desire to do that. Because there is something special to the whole thing where it's like, oh, I've discovered a whole new corner of a hobby that literally I did not know existed.
Yeah.
And it's like there's this whole world to explore. And so that was so exciting. But like I don't keep playing all the Japanese trick king games. Like, I don't keep trying to get them to the table. I do keep getting Nikosu dice to the table, and it's not because of its scarcity anymore. Like, I think maybe once upon a time that was part of it, but like that's not why I keep playing it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, this is a 2016 game ranked like 1,300 and something on Board Game Geek. It's not like, you know, that scarcity is like propped this thing up to heights. It's just an incredible game and a gem and something people should play if they can, or, you know, makeshift a copy easily enough if they can. Yeah.
I will give you a little publisher insight here because I did try to acquire Nikosu dice for Gamehead and I failed. But my understanding is that it will come to the US. And as someone who has published at least one and probably one or two coming unbelievable trick-taking games, I do think that once it sees a very wide audience, it will be tough to stay on tables. I think there are groups like you guys that are like, this is one of the best ever, and I'm going to keep pulling it out. But for people that have seen year after year, not just new cool trick-taking games, but the trick-taking game that everyone is playing, it will become the trick-taking game that everyone was playing, is my best guess.
Interesting.
Not to take anything away from the fact that it's probably unbelievable and I need to play it again.
Yeah.
Y'all should do an episode on it. But
that'd be good.
I want to talk about my number 2 game of all time, which is it's a game of twos because it is tag team.
Wow.
Tag team. Yeah.
Tag battle.
God.
Do not.
I did not see this coming.
Tag team.
Toy team battle tags.
A game released in 2025.
Paul
it
can't
is-
say anything.
It is frankly, Jake, I think it played a legitimate role in dethroning challengers from even my top 20 because I just have it's not really like challengers, but it evokes a similar thing for me. There's a playfulness to this game. Tag team is this fighting game where you are picking 2 characters and you're mashing them up. That alone, sort of taking these 2 characters and fitting them together to be your team is so good. You know, that's in the legacy of fighting games. There's games that have done this like Marvel. CVS, there's just different games. You pick 2 characters, that's now your team that you have to work with. But here in tag team, they work so directly together. You sort of have your attacking characters and your support characters that are hybrids of both, and trying to figure out how the puzzle of this character fits with that character against those 2 characters across from me is phenomenal. Every turn you are offered 3 cards. You pick one of them and add them to your deck. And then you just flip those cards face up and resolve them against your opponent's cards. They have cards that will let them attack, will let them block, or let them gain more power. Because of that system, attack, block, or gain more power, I feel like tag team is one of the most perfect adaptations of a genre to another genre that I've ever seen, where someone is doing what when people talk about translating languages to other languages, where they're like, yeah, you can't just take the word that means the exact thing, because you have to think about what it feels like to be a speaker of this language, listening to this word, and then think about a similar word in that language that will elicit a similar feeling in that word. Tag team does that for video game fighting games to board games in such a brilliant way. And the strategic nuance that they're able to get out of what are ultimately just a handful of cards and a unique component for each character is incredible. I've played this game over 500 times this year.
Oh my God.
And that's why, I'm still playing it. I still adore it. I want to keep playing it. It's an amazing game. This is tag team. It's also really quick. This is a 2-player dueling game that takes 10 minutes or less.
I think that playing this game async with you guys kind of killed it for me. I think that I really need to play this on the table. I think that what it's doing is so cool. And like, I kind of like grew up on Marvel versus Capcom. So like tag team fighting games is sort of in my blood in terms of nostalgia. And what's funny is that I was talking about this game with someone, and I think it gets called Auto Battler a lot. But to me, the game reads more like an action programming game than an auto battling game.
I agree. Yeah, completely.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, I think with people going expecting auto battler, they're thinking challengers, but actually it's more of a sequencing game.
For sure.
Yeah. 100%. And there's this interesting spatial puzzle, which doesn't make sense really when you play it unless you lay out all the cards in a line, where it's actually this really nuanced, intricate system because you never shuffle the deck. So you end up with this interesting spatial sort of component where a card that's my first card or my last card, the potential for my opponent to know where that is much more clear than a card that's in the middle. Because to dislodge a card that's on one of the sides, you have to put a card in front or behind it. And then because it's an attack block or power-up system, or there's other effects that are happening, it localizes and focuses what sort of part of this of when in your deck a card is going to come up in a really interesting way that makes the game so much about what do I need to put in this slot and can I make it happen? Okay, I can't make that happen. How can I maximize my opponent's pain if I can't do that? Okay, if I do that, right? And it's amazing. It's both punchy and fun, I guess pun intended, but also the ways in which the sort of combinatorics of this game come together just proves to me you need so little to make so much in board games.
Cool.
Way, way, way more going on under the hood than it seems. I think the spatial puzzle of it made it like actually harder for me to grok the implication of my decisions. And then, on a layer above that, if you want to be thinking about what your opponent is thinking about and what they might be thinking about, then of course you can do that too, which makes this a perfect Brendan game. Absolutely. I think well deserving for your number 2. But it is time now to move to our number 1 games of all time, starting with my number 1, a game that you, listener, probably won't like, because it takes your micro turn and it smashes it on the table and says, no, you have to do 10 action points and here's a whole menu of things that you can do with it. And people might AP a bit, try not to, but this is of course Tikal, the first in the Mask trilogy by Kramer and Kiesling. I think this is the first time since we started doing this podcast that I'm keeping the same game at number 1 year over year. So this was my number 1 last year as well. You play as sort of an archaeology field school. You're discovering a map as you play the game. And then this is not an area majority game. It's actually a full-on area control game. Points for the leader, no points for anyone else, making it the greatest area of control game of all time, according to me. So I think it's interesting. I really wavered between Tikal and El Grande for my number 1. I think El Grande is just so much easier to get to the table. Tikal just genuinely has so many warts. Like a lot of people are just gonna be too AP prone to maybe enjoy this game. You kind of have to just look at it and make some gut decisions for it to be fun. But like if you can find the right group of people, if you can play this game with an experienced group of people, like for me, it's just the pinnacle fun of, serious board gaming where you're kind of like really trying hard to win. But of course, having fun regardless of the outcome. The advanced variant of this game, the first time I played it, like there's just so much to think about in a game of Tikal that I thought, who would ever want to use this? Now, instead of just drawing a tile, we're going to auction the tiles available every single round. Adds so much complexity to the game, but also just like adds so many like levels of understanding, just increases that skill ceiling so much. And I was playing this game a lot. I played it this year on the table at Gamers Rants, but also playing a ton on Board Game Arena. And maybe I was kind of like wavering on it. But then one day I got an invitation by just randomly on Board Game Arena to a tournament that was like the Tikal World Championships. It takes place every month, so it's not that serious.
Big stakes.
But yeah, so all of a sudden, I'm just getting the chance to play this game like with the best players in the world on Board Game Arena, and just seeing how much deeper the struggle goes to get good at this game, and just enjoying that so much. Like, playing against the world number 1 ELO people, and succeeding and failing miserably and trying my hardest to make sure this one person doesn't win the match, and then they still do by a lot. It's just like exploded my brain to like the possibility space of this game even more. So it's it's a game that I've continued to play, continue to enjoy, and I'm enjoying more than ever. T-Call, it's going to be the best game in the world for some.
Very cool. And are you doing the World Championship every month?
Yeah, I'm participating. I mean, it's asynchronous, so it's like, it's
Sure.
just like kind of always going.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, really enjoying that.
And what's
even
your top
playing with some
finish?
of these. I think I got third one year, so I've been doing pretty well.
Ooh.
I'm
That's
not.
rewarding for an achievement player, I'll tell you that much. I was thinking as the stakes get higher for a game like Tikal, the enjoyment must go through the roof for you.
I think the stakes are so low, right? It's like playing on Board Game Arena for actually nothing, but just knowing, like, beating random people or like teaching it and playing with friends, and getting smoked by them usually on the table because I'm like, look, you guys can all attack me. It's like great for that too, right? Because I get,
Sure.
like you can make sure somebody doesn't win as a table in this game. It's so interactive.
Okay.
But yeah, I've had some games like against the top couple people, and that's just been so fun. And
And
winning a few of them, that feels good. I won't lie.
Is this a game that I would like? It sounds like a game that Pete might
No,
like,
Paul.
given the table balance.
I think that Pete might like it. I think Paul would definitely not like it. Brendan, we played it
Perfect.
together, and I think is lukewarm, but it's not among his favorites for sure.
Cool.
But I'd be happy
All
to play
right.
with any of you anytime.
Well, I think the thing that's really fun for me about this, especially as we head towards Geekway to the West, which is just like 2 weeks from now, basically, is all of these different games that I want to play and all the decision knots that will be there. And we'll all be, you've been saying this, we'll all be bringing these bags of games that are special to us and we want to share. And I have one here next to me that is one of those. And I brought it last year and we didn't get a chance to play it, I don't think, but we will this year. And as you go through a pub meeple, you basically kind of know what your top 5 is going to be. You kind of know which you're picking over and over and over. And I wasn't sure if I wanted this to be my number 1, but as I compared it to all of the other games on my list, it is the one that I am the most hyped to play again every time. Every turn I am engaged all the way through. And it is once again Ra and Priests of Ra from the great Reiner Knizia. It was my number 1 last year, and it has returned once again. We've talked about it many times on the show. In fact, we did a proper deep dive on Ra and Ra's expansions and successors and so on. I did not actually play Priests of Ra this year, I don't think, but I played Razzia, I played Ra and Right, and I definitely played a game of Ra with the new Traders expansion in there, and they were all fun. I think Ra's just a brilliant system. We talked about Reiner Knizia's 700th great idea. I don't know where this is in the line, but my God, is it a triumph of auction systems? And it's just so cool. I encourage everybody that loves this game to find a copy of Priests of Ra, or if you are at Geekway to the West, let's play a game of this. It is the same magnificent core system as Ra, but it has a different tile set, which you may or may not find engaging, but it does increase the opportunities for decisions. I guess the decisions are slightly less chunky because you have a little more resolution and get to do a little bit more, but it gives you a little more interactive decision making on your turn in a way that is cool. I expect that someday, somehow, 25th Century will make this game with Ian O'Toole's excellent work, but my suspicion, let's leave it at that, is that it will be a different theme. And for that, I am somewhat disappointed. Nonetheless, it remains my number 1 favorite game forever and always, Priests of Ra by Reiner Knizia.
Yeah, I'll say, like, when I first played Ra, I played it twice at 5 players, and I was like, okay, like, it's fine. But when I've played it at lower player counts, especially like at 3, I'm like, ooh. And it's funny because a lot of times I think I prefer an auction game with more players. But the style of auction in Ra, I want to feel, and my favorite thing to feel in the game is that I'm like forcing other people into situations they don't want to be in. Like, my favorite thing about the game is to call for auctions at a time when everyone at the table is like, don't do it. Don't do it, right? Like, and the game creates those really fun and kind of funny moments And so that's, I think, the thing that makes it work so well for me. The actual set collection is kind of whatever,
Sure.
but just like the auction system is killer.
Yeah, and I will say, like, one of my favorite decisions overall, we did an episode on our favorite types of decisions. One of my favorite types of decisions is, what is this worth? And this very much centers on that, but not just like, what is it worth in terms of what am I willing to spend for it? How good of a Sun token am I willing to offer for it? But also, like, what is this worth to Pete right now? And what is it worth to Jake? And what is it worth to me? Because that has big impact on what I can expect them to spend, especially because it's a once around auction each time. And Priest of Ra adds a slight notch to that, which is that when I play a tile, I can choose which side to play. I can make it red or green, or I can make it blue and yellow. And here again, there is a differentiation in value between me and Pete. So I might be able to sweeten the deal for Pete a little bit, hoping that he'll do something I want him to do. I can actually incentivize the actions of the players a little bit by what I put into the row and how. So slight wrinkles. If you love Ra, definitely play it.
Well, and I will say the deep dive episode from this year that you and Jake did, I think is one of the strongest deep dives that I've listened to on the show in terms of game analysis. Like, I think that you all just like crushed that. So I recommend people who want to like see the next layer deep in Ra to go back and listen to that episode.
Thank you, Peter.
So my number one game, so Jake's number one game didn't change from last year. Paul's number one game didn't change from last year.
No.
Mine is still Root.
Still
Root's
Root
the
number
best
one.
game of all time.
Yep.
Cole Worley's Root from Leader Games, still with Leader Games. I played this a ton online in the last year as Brendan and I prepared for this this Root deep dive double feature that we did that I do highly recommend. I think those you can hear Brendan and I buzzing with enthusiasm in those episodes. Like, it was so fun. I've also played this on the table quite a bit in the last year. I think I've played it 5 times in the last year. One of which I actually got to play the new factions at Gen Con with Patrick Leader, which is just like, was a crazy cool experience. What's funny is like, I've been talking about my favorite decisions. I don't really need to explain Root again. It's an asymmetric war game with very cute animal art. At this point, I've played it so much that one of my favorite decisions in the game is the advanced setup. Because when you play this game with the advanced setup, you get like a flop of factions that you draft which faction you're going to play in the reverse order of your turn order, because there's such a strong first player turn order in this game, and Leader understood that at a certain point people want to play this highly competitively. So if I get my first pick of factions and get to set it up on the board, but I'm in the 4th seat, which means that I'm starting the game from a weaker position, but I get a lot more agency over what's going on. And if I'm in that first seat, I'm picking last, and it's like maybe the faction I really wanted to play and I'm in the mood to play is terrible for the faction flop that just happened. And it's like, wow, I really was in the mood to play rats, but there's crows and Woodland Alliance in here, and like that's just bad news for me. So, and a vagabond, they're going to steal all the items. That sucks. So, maybe now I'm going to switch gears and play something else. I just think that it's like a layer to the game that only comes when you've played it a lot, right? Like the advanced setup just seems like just a way to set the game up until you've played it a lot and gotten really into like competitive meta. And then like the game starts before the game starts in such a very fun and cool way. My other favorite decision in the game is just trying to convince other players that they need to do what I want them to do. And you actually get better at that part of the game the more you know about the game, because when I do it, I don't lie to people. I tell a real story about what I think is in their best interests. And that's like the best form of negotiation, is being honest, right? But you have to be able to see the board state with such clarity to basically sort of like show people a world that maybe they didn't see. It's just like, it's great. It's Root. It's the best game. I'm playing it again this week. Can't do any better. There you go.
That's real politics, showing the people a world that they can't see for themselves. That's the game. That's the game of politics. Wow. Ad set is amazing. That to me is just sort of, that's how we started to play, and that's how I play the game, right? That's the route that I know and love, is playing advanced setup, because it emphasizes the agencies and the identities. What more could you want? Yeah, Root's amazing. Okay, well then that means it's my number one game of all time. Okay, so Paul, your number one game of all time did not
Yep.
change. And Jake,
Nope.
your number one game of all time did not change.
Stayed
And
the
Pete,
same.
your number one game of all time is still Root. And y'all spent the whole episode talking about all these new games coming to your top 10s. And yet, my number one game of all time has not changed. It is Don Eskridge's The Resistance.
Wow.
Yeah, let's go.
I don't even, what is there to say about The Resistance that we haven't already said on episode 155, that we haven't said in many, many conversations on the show? And that really, we were, in some ways, we got to come late to that conversation. The Resistance is a game that has been around for a very long time. It's also a game that kind of existed before it was even around, because of the social phenomena that just the activity of doing The Resistance is. I love The Resistance. It creates a stark and tense human experience and interaction with relatively few rules, and it comes and goes in the exact pace that it needs to, for the emotions to be big, the tensions to be high, and to be a little bit electric. I said, as we were going through our 10 to 5s, that My City is a game that has a board game that has made my heart beat, of just race. The Resistance is another one. And not just when I'm playing the spy and doing my best to deceive all of my friends, family, loved ones, and strangers, but also on the other side of The Resistance, because there's just something that's sort of entrancing about the social activity of playing The Resistance. I don't even need Merlin. You just play it straight. And that's why, yeah, Jake, Pete, Paul, you're going on the mission.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I'm an Avalon player. That is my preferred. But yeah, this one was in my top 10 last year. Still love it. The reason it didn't make my list is I only played it once in the last year. And it actually was the fact that I only played it once, and I remember that game. Jake, you were in that game too.
Yeah, with Taylor Reiner, where he said he would never lie, and I asked him if he was a spy, and he said yes.
Yeah, that was the one where I sort of opened the game with explaining my group meta, and then immediately realized that I was putting myself in a horrible position by doing that. It is just such. It's amazing how in such a small package, in a small amount of time, it delivers such a big punch. Yeah, I mean, it's not in my top 10 this year, but nothing but love for The Resistance. My group just doesn't. Well, I rarely have that number of people at a game night anymore. There was a time when at my game nights were routinely we would have 6 to 8 people, and that just doesn't happen anymore. So that's part of why it has fallen in my list.
Yeah, it's number 13 for me, but that's also a big drop off, and I think part of that is that we played Blood on the Clock Tower at Game Weekend, which that didn't make my top 50 list, but it was I was like, what is this? This is exciting. This is interesting. This is different, and I think that was just enough to drop it down a little bit, even though that one play we had last year at Geekway was amazing, and I hope we do it again this year.
Absolutely could. Well, that brings us to another year of top 10s. Listeners, thank you so much for sticking with us. If you want to talk about any of these games with us or share what your top 5 games of all time are right now, we'd love to hear from you in our Discord. Thanks, as always, to Himbre for letting us use their song Reach Out as our intro and outro song. Thank you again to the voters on Golden Geek for naming us the best podcast, maybe. Or thank you again to the voters on Golden Geek. We'll get them next year.
Yeah.
And we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.